Howdy folks, Josh Shipp here. I'm the founder of Youth Speaker University, where we help individuals make an impact and income speaking to students, educators, parents, and nonprofit organizations. And in this video, I'm going to give you an actionable strategy for when a speaking lead, an event lead says no to hiring you to speak. This is something all of us as speakers face. And, it can be quite tricky to deal with because we tend to either have one of two responses. We either get upset, it's frustrating, it's embarrassing, it's defeating. You feel like, oh, this one's a sure thing, or, I feel like this is definitely going to go well. And then they stop responding or they say no. I remember back in 2013, there was this conference I so badly wanted to speak at that I changed my email password to the name of this conference. And I didn't get it. I didn't book it. I was crushed. I was absolutely crushed. So one way we can respond is sort of getting upset, disheartened, or we can either move on too quickly. Now, look, there is wisdom in the mentality that not every event is for you, or there's wisdom in, every no gets you a little bit closer to a yes. But in this video, I'm going to propose one final overture, one final step before you move on and say, girl, bye. So in this video, this is what we're going to discuss, that we can learn more from a lead that says no than from a lead that says yes. So specifically, I'm going to talk you through what not to do when a lead says no, what to do instead, how to parse the feedback that a no might give you. And then I'm going to give you an invitation to let us help you identify the blind spots that are preventing you from getting booked as frequently as you'd like. So let's talk about what not to do. Now, this stuff might seem obvious, but don't be a jerk, obviously, because this lead might want to book you in the future, but not right now. So, again, this can be quite disheartening because you feel like, man, I've been corresponding with these folks for weeks or for months, and then they say, sorry, we found someone else. So it can be tempting to be like, all right, well, fine. But obviously, in these moments, remain composed. Don't be a jerk. And also, as I mentioned and teased in the girl bye gif, you don't want to immediately move on, and you don't want to try to change their mind. At this point, their decision is already made, so you don't want to try to change their mind here. Instead, realize that there is two forms of value that you can extract from a speaking lead. The first is cash. They book you, they give you a check for $5,000, you get to speak, you make an impact and income. That's terrific. But the second type of value, and this type of value is often overlooked by speakers, is that you can extract clarity. When a lead says no to you, there is some private conversation happening behind closed doors that you are not a part of, in a hallway or an office or a boardroom, where they are deciding between a couple different speakers, and they are frankly sharing why they are deciding not to go with you. And I would argue that feedback in some ways is 2 to 3 to 10 times more valuable than getting a yes and getting that $5,000 check. Because if you can anticipate that objection, if you can go and offensively fix that objection, that could lead to a much higher percentage of leads saying yes to you. So realize in these moments you can extract either cash or clarity, and clarity can be very valuable to your speaking business. So here's what you want to do instead. You want to make one final overture to this lead that said no. It's going to simply be an email asking for their feedback. Again, you are not trying to change their mind. You are simply asking for feedback, and you want to give them a way to do this that is 100% anonymous. So here's a screenshot of basically the very sort of email template that I use and that we use at our agency. So let me break this down. So this first line here, hi Cheryl, I appreciate the update and hope you have an excellent conference. This is, again, communicating that you respect their decision and you're not trying to change their mind. You're simply trying to learn from this experience. Next, can you please fill out this anonymous 2-question feedback form? Number one, it's anonymous. This is very, very important. Most folks, most personality types are not comfortable giving direct, brutally honest feedback, which is why this must be a link, and you must link them to a feedback form that is quick and that is anonymous. Next, I'm committed to helping educators or whoever your audience is and want to learn how I can improve. The context here is that it shows them that you're the real deal. I mean, this posture says a lot about you and shows that you're someone that practices what you preach. And if they're like, hey, she isn't right for this year, but maybe, next year or the year after that, or he isn't right, this sort of gesture can be yet another vote in that category of, oh yeah, it wasn't a fit this year, but this is someone we want to keep in mind for the future. And then here's a screenshot of the very sort of feedback form that we use. Again, it's 2 questions. Up top it says, please be brutally honest. It's the most helpful. This survey is 100% private and anonymous. That's true. We don't ask for their email. We don't ask for their name or anything. We want brutally honest feedback. We're not looking to know who this person is so we can circle back and talk them out of it. Well, you said, it was because of this, but actually I can, or maybe did you see this? No, we're simply trying to extract intelligence and feedback and clarity here. So really just 2 questions. The first one, I like for it to be multiple choice. What's the number one reason? We go through the, sort of the most common reasons: video, topic, money, or date. And then number 2, that's something that can sort of fill in and, give you their spin, their point of view. What would be your number one suggestion to help me improve and book more speaking engagements? And because you're sort of asking them to be brutally honest and it's anonymous, you should get some pretty helpful, though I'll warn you, hard to read feedback. Right before I started filming this video for y'all, I looked, and the survey that we use currently has 434 responses. And you should expect for every 4 no's you get and you kind of say, hey, would you fill out this form? Probably 1 out of 4 is going to say yes. So if that percentage holds true for us, that means, we're looking at like 1,200 no's, of which about a quarter, a little bit over 400, were kind and thoughtful enough to give us feedback. I mean, by them giving us feedback, that is essentially them writing us a check as well, because their feedback, that intel, we can use to learn from to make sure that we're booking more events that are indeed a right fit for us. So now let's talk about parsing this feedback. I kind of break it into 4 categories: improve, clarify, anticipate, or just flat out ignore. So improve. So, someone might say, hey, we watched your video. We hadn't seen you speak in person, but someone we know did and mentioned your name, or we stumbled upon you online. And, your video just didn't quite convince us. We didn't feel that maybe you could hold the attention of our audience, or that, the message that our event is about, we didn't quite see that articulated in your video. We know you said, from the emails that you could do that, but when we sat down as a team and watched the video, it's like it didn't quite convince us. So this is fair feedback. And with something like this, the issue here is the craft. The video, which is a video representation of your craft of speaking, didn't quite convince the client. So that is fair feedback. That is something that you can improve upon. The second category might be clarify. So these, someone might say, well, we wanted someone who could speak to both students and teachers. But you might be like, well, hey, wait a minute. I actually speak to both students and teachers. I've done that. I've done that a lot. It's a very common thing that I do. In these sorts of situations, this means that though it is clear to you, it was not clear to them. So there is something about your website, your video, your tagline, your speech titles, your speech description that is not making that abundantly clear. And when, these kind of things are always so frustrating because it's like, well, what do you mean? If someone didn't think I was that good, it's like, okay, well, that's going to be like a 6 months fix. I got to get better at the speech, and then I got to find the ideal speech to film, and then I got to make that video, and that video is going to be a little better. And so more folks are going to be convinced by my video. But with something like this, it's like, this is so frustrating because I do speak to students and teachers. I have a different message for each. Each message is quite good, but clear to you, not clear to them, not clear to your lead, not clear to your potential customer. So you want to clarify that this is the case. And when I'm doing something like this, I think about congruency, that this should be clearly communicated, not just in one place. So, okay, I got to be more explicit about that in my emails. No, this should be clear and explicit all over the place. In your video, it should be clear. Hey, here's my video for students, and here's my video for teachers. Or if I'm going to have one video, here's some clips of me speaking to students, and here's some clips of me speaking to teachers. It should be, I should be able to communicate that congruently as many places in my marketing as possible. Next, anticipate. So someone might say, this is a common feedback that we get. It was tough getting all the decision makers on the same page. Some folks wanted to book you, some folks were interested in someone else. And in these kind of situations, because you're not present for that debate, it's like kind of whoever has the strongest personality or the most seniority in that meeting, it's most likely the speaker that they want is going to be the speaker that gets booked. So this one is really tricky and nuanced, but if you find that you're having this feedback quite a bit, you can begin to anticipate this and fine-tune your process. So for example, on your contact form, you could say, are you the final decision maker? Or somewhere in your email or phone conversation, hey, are you the final decision maker? If not, well, why don't the two of us get on the phone? Or, hey, you mentioned that there's going to be a meeting. Could I zoom in for that meeting for 5 minutes and kind of make my case for myself, to all the decision makers who are in the room at one time? Now, some folks won't want you to do that. It'll feel a little awkward or a little too salesy or pushy. But some will actually quite appreciate the gesture. So you might have some feedback like this. It's really gray, really nuanced, really tricky. Think creatively about your sales process and how you could anticipate this and deal with it ahead of time. And lastly, there's some feedback you're just going to need to ignore. Like someone might troll you, someone might be rude, someone might be like, hey, our event was June 9th, you weren't available, and we can't move our event date. It's like, all right, well, fine, that's out of your hands. But the other three, improve, clarify, anticipate, those are things that are in your hands and things that you can do to learn from those folks that say no so that fewer and fewer of them in the future say no and more say yes. Well, I want to invite you to allow us to help you get clarity on the blind spots in your speaking business that are preventing more folks from booking you. So 2 ways to do this. Number one, if you are already a student of our YSU training program, twice per month we have live coaching. Just simply log into your account, click up here on coaching, and you will see the next date, time, and Zoom link for our next coaching session. The whole point of these coaching sessions is for you to be able to ask questions and get personalized feedback on your speech, your one sheet, your demo video, your website, your lead generation strategy, or your next level of growth. And if you're not currently a part of our YSU training program, well, let's talk. Let's see if it's a fit for you. Our training program is designed to help you launch and grow your speaking business using our proven step-by-step methodology. We have dozens of hours of helpful step-by-step training videos that you get lifetime access to. Plus, you get access to our 2 times a month live coaching and feedback sessions via Zoom. So you get all of this, you get lifetime access to it, and we've priced it to be the price of simply one paid speech in the youth and education industry. So if you're not a member of YSU, click somewhere on this page or go to youspeakeru.com/schedule and set up a time to talk with a member of my team. We're not going to hard sell you. We'll be brutally honest. Hey, this program sounds like a great fit for you. Here are your next steps. Or honestly, thinking about where you're at or what you're wanting to do, we're probably not the best fit for you. Here's what we would recommend instead. And that concludes this video. What to do when a lead frustratingly says no. But remember, there's not only an opportunity here to extract cash, you can also extract clarity, which will help you exceedingly in the future.